Close your eyes for a moment and picture dawn at Angkor, a pale light spilling across carved stone, mist drifting over a vast barai, the first workers already moving along raised causeways. Who built those causeways? Who fed the people who raised the towers? Living city of stone.
Welcome to Ancient Echoes, where we dive deep into the heart of Cambodian culture and history. I'm your host, Samnang Bradley, and joining me is my co-host, Rachana Sol.
As we explore the logistics and lives behind the temples, we'll look at irrigation systems, food production, quarry work, transport networks, artisan workshops, and the household rhythms that supported monumental building. The evidence comes from inscriptions, archaeology, and living memories. Let's unpack that.
In this episode, Angkor's Hands, we followed the systems and everyday people that sustained the Khmer Empire's stone cities. We'll use clear examples, Angkor Wat, the West Barai, quarry sites, to understand how Cambodian culture and engineering intersected to build and sustain these monuments.
Before we dive deep, a quick note on sources. When I say something like inscriptions record or archaeology shows, I'll point you to the show notes where we list key studies and translations. Many claims are solid, others remain debated. I'll flag where we step into interpretation.
To frame our story, the Khmer Empire, at its height between the 9th and 13th centuries, supported huge populations and monumental temple complexes centered around Angkor. Angkor Wat and neighboring monuments are architectural triumphs, yes, but they are also the end product of sustained social systems, agriculture, transport, craft specialization, and ritual life that allowed large projects to happen. The cultural significance of Angkor Wat extends beyond stone. It's embedded in how communities organized care, labor, and resources. The layers matter.
Section 1. Background and context. Let's set the scene. Angkor Wat, built in the early 12th century under King Suryavarman II, sits within an urban landscape powered by engineered water systems and seasonal rice cultivation. Archaeologists describe Angkor as a low-density city. Temples, reservoirs, canals, fields, and settlements woven across the plain. That network is the first clue. This wasn't a temple built in isolation. It was supported by an agricultural engine.
From a cultural standpoint, rice agriculture structured time and labor. Planting, transplanting, harvesting, these cycles dictated when large groups could be mobilized for public works. The evidence shows shifts in labor cadence tied to monsoon patterns. That connection between seasonal cycles and building rhythms is foundational to understanding Angkor's labor organization. The research tells us that the waterworks and the fields were as important as the stones.
Section 2. Water, rice, and seasonal labor. Think of the Great Barais, massive reservoirs like the West Barai, not only as religious or symbolic features, but as active infrastructure. They regulated water for irrigation, buffered floods, and created storage necessary to feed a large workforce through dry seasons. Without water control on that scale, the urban population and the temple projects could not be sustained.
Archaeological survey and paleo-environmental studies show a carefully managed water network, canals, dikes, sluices. That network allowed more reliable, multiple rice harvests in some periods, increasing surplus and freeing labor for construction. Importantly, labor was seasonal. During slack agricultural months, people were organized into corvée or communal labor groups to work on temples, roads, and irrigation maintenance. This seasonal mobilization is a pattern across Southeast Asia, but the scale at Angkor was exceptional.
How were people fed? Large temple complexes had kitchens and storehouses. Inscriptions and recent excavations point to provisioning centers, places where rice and other staples were collected, cooked, and distributed to workers and priests. Temple kitchens likely served both ritual needs and practical labor support. Imagine long lines of workers receiving steaming trays of rice, fish, and greens. Simple, sustaining meals that kept the city moving.
This is significant because it reframes monumental architecture as a social achievement, not just an artistic one. When we say Angkor Wat was built, we should also ask, who prepared the meals? Who tended the fields? Who repaired the irrigation canals? Those everyday tasks are where culture and logistics meet. The cultural significance of Angkor Wat is rooted in these human networks.
Section 3. Quarries, transport, engineering, workshops, and domestic life. Let's move from fields and water to stone. The sandstone blocks for many of the primary temples came from quarries located some distance from the central sites. Moving those stones required coordination. River transport, barges, land causeways, teams of laborers, and craft specialists to shape stones to exacting dimensions. Think of a chain. Quarry workers shaping blocks, boat crews loading them, masons fitting them into place.
Boat transport was key. Inscriptions and landscape archaeology highlight the importance of waterways and constructed roads. During the monsoon, rivers rose and movement by boat could be faster and more reliable. Another example of seasonal rhythms shaping logistics. The elders taught us that waterways were highways of the past. Archaeologists now map those ancient highways and link them to quarry and temple sites.
Workshops clustered near temple sites and quarries. Carvers, masons, metalworkers, potters, and carpenters formed craft households, often multi-generational, where skills were transmitted through apprenticeship. Temple inscriptions sometimes reference named craftsmen and guild-like groups, suggesting organization, reputation, and specialization. That human expertise, how to carve an Apsara's delicate smile, or how to fit a lintel precisely, was as valuable as the physical labor of moving stone.
Domestic life supported all of this. Women's work, cooking, weaving, childcare, tending small animals, sustained households and the workforce. While stonework and engineering draw attention, the unseen care labor kept the social fabric intact. The evidence comes in part from pottery, household debris, and ethnographic parallels. Small-scale household production feeding into larger economic and ritual systems. This matters culturally because it reminds us that monumental history is built on everyday life.
Let's be clear about uncertainties. Not every detail is known. Some records are fragmentary, landscape changes hide former canals, and modern analogies can only go so far. Archaeologists use a combination of excavation, remote sensing like LiDAR, epigraphy, reading temple inscriptions, and oral histories to piece together likely scenarios. Where evidence is thin, I'll say so. We avoid romanticizing labor hierarchies or imposing modern institutions on the past.
The sources we trust vary. Inscriptions give administrative notes, tributes, donations, sometimes lists of workers, while archaeology reveals material patterns. Oral histories preserve village memories and continuity of craft. Together, they form a mosaic. The scholarly insight reveals the mosaic's larger picture, but also its missing tiles. Consider this perspective when you think about claims of scale or specific organization.
Recap and cultural connections. What emerges here is a new way to see Angkor Wat, not only as an icon of stone and religion, but as a living nexus of food systems, labor rhythms, transport networks, and household practices. Those systems enabled large-scale projects and created the conditions for cultural expression. Today, Cambodian culture honors craft traditions, community ceremonies, and care networks that echo those older practices.
Preservation work increasingly recognizes that protecting monuments also means supporting the living communities and skills connected to them.
From a cultural standpoint, the deeper story is that heritage is both material and social. Protecting Angkor Wat involves conserving stone and conserving skills, agricultural knowledge, and community memory. That's where modern heritage work becomes meaningful, when it supports people as well as places. The pattern shows us how the past continues to inform identity and cultural resilience today.
Call to action. If this episode gave you a new way to see Angkor, please follow Ancient Echoes on your favorite social platform. Share this episode with someone curious about Cambodian history, and check out my YouTube channel for maps, LiDAR images, and close-up views of workshop sites. Your engagement helps us continue to highlight the living heritage behind the monuments.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Tell us which aspect surprised you, the water systems, the movement of stone, or the daily life of artisans, and share any family or community memories that connect to these topics. Your voices help shape future episodes.
Before we close, a quick preview. Next time on Ancient Echoes, we'll explore traditional performance and the role of dance and music in temple ritual life, how movement and sound animate stone. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Let's unlock the echoes of history together.
Gentle outro music fades in softly. That brings us to the end of this episode of Ancient Echoes. We hope these stories helped you see Cambodian history and culture in a deeper, more human way.
The echoes of the past live on in people's voices, memories, and everyday lives. Thank you for listening and for making space for these stories.
If this episode resonated with you, please follow Ancient Echoes on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who might appreciate these conversations.
You can also connect with us and share your own stories or questions at our social handles listed in the show notes. We'd love to hear how these echoes sound in your life.
Until next time, thank you for listening to Ancient Echoes.
In the quiet of night, I whispered my plea, holding her close, hoping for her decree. I called upon spirits, asked them to guide, to take her heart and lead her by my side. So I drew her near, traced her brow so fair on my sight this way. Om sacred power, Swahai, mighty spirit awaken. By the master's right, let her heart be gently taken. Let her follow me now by vow and by sign. I hear these words, oh teacher, witness this plea. Oh, my sacred power, Swahai.